Netanyahu's attack on Iran, with the stated intention of crippling, if possible, disabling forever Iran's nuclear facilities. Was it a wise and necessary step, or was it a completely mistaken and necessary counterproductive step? What do you think? In this video, I am going to share with you my take regarding this question, and I do so only to invite your responses. I don't ever claim to have any definitive truth, the last word on anything. If at all I present a point of view, it's only to serve as a point of stimulation or invitation for receiving your responses so that I can be better off and better educated through your responses. So let's get started. Now, first of all, I don't doubt even for a moment that Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, is pretending, without being sincere about it, pretending that he and his cabinet and a majority of people in Israel believe that Iran coming to have a nuclear weapon is an existential threat to Israel. Netanyahu certainly believes it, and there are many people in Israel who agree with him. My point is the fact that you believe something to be so is no proof that it is really so. This is where most people commit a mistake. You may very sincerely, ardently, powerfully believe that this is indeed the likely outcome. But an outcome, by the very definition of it, is still in the future. And there is no guarantee that the future will play out exactly as we imagine it would. Because between now and tomorrow, between now and the day after, a great deal can change. Just imagine how greatly the situation in this region has changed overnight, just because Netanyahu, representing the collective neurosis or anxieties of his people, decided to act preemptively so that Iran can be prevented from producing a nuclear weapon. Now, the idea that if Iran comes to having a nuclear bomb, the immediate thing they will do is to fix it on one of their missiles and send it to Israel, send it to Tel Aviv or Jerusalem, is, in my opinion, totally baseless. I'll state the reasons why. But it is clear that Netanyahu ardently believes that to be the case, and that there could be reasons for it, both immediate and derived from the past. For example, the traumatic experience of the Jews under Hitler has created a certain psychology, and therefore insecurity is at the very root of the Jewish psychology, and that makes it almost involuntary for them to overreact to situations of insecurity. And to make matters worse, there are n number of immediate empirical suggestions, pricks and prods to aggravate and intensify that anxiety. And certainly the most important thing is the most unfortunate, inexcusable, dreadful attack mounted by Hamas on the Jewish settlers in the border area between Israel and Palestine, Israel and Gaza. So if you look at the contextual suggestions, it seems to make a great deal of sense that Benjamin Netanyahu's anxieties are absolutely well placed, well grounded, and any sensible person will agree with what he has come to believe as axiomatic, as the inflexible truth. Now, this is precisely where I beg to disagree with him, and here is the reason why I do so. Now, Israel is already a nuclear state. Israel is one of the 9 countries in the world known to possess nuclear weapons. How many weapons Israel has, we do not know. And the entire Israeli nuclear program is shrouded in obscurity. Israel as a country is not a signatory to the nuclear non-proliferation regime. Its nuclear facilities are not open to inspection by the International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA. So no one really knows what is the status of the Jewish or Israeli nuclear program. But it's widely believed, and there is no indication to the contrary, it's widely believed that Israel, though a very small state, is a nuclear armed state. There's no question about it. Now imagine that Iran, which is at a distance of aerial distance of at least 1,000 kilometers from Israel, comes to have or comes to produce its own nuclear weapons, comes to have an atom bomb. So now Iran is a nuclear state, Israel is a nuclear state. What do you think will happen? Do you think the regime in Iran will, the moment the state comes into the possession of a nuclear weapon, will go and dump it on Israel? Is that possible? To think realistically about it, let's take 2 examples. Because it's always better to be objective. And to be objective, we have to rely on examples derived from other sources, different contexts. Take Operation Sindoor, the war between India and Pakistan. A similar situation. 2 nuclear states, or 2 states armed with nuclear weapons, India and Pakistan. Did either of the country ever think of using its nuclear bomb? Is such a thing possible? As a matter of fact, the most useless weapon in the world, when it comes to actual use as against psychological deterrence, nuclear bomb has a very important value in terms of deterrence, and that is psychological, but it has 0 value as a weapon for waging war. Because especially if the 2 states warring against each other are both armed with nuclear weapons, no country can survive the other if nuclear weapons are used. For example, God forbid, it occurred to India to teach Pakistan a lesson, and therefore we used one of the atom bombs. What will Pakistan do? Immediately, assuming that there is a single Pakistani surviving, they will do everything possible, or he will do everything possible to favor India with the same compliment. So, this is what in military doctrine is called MAD, or mutually assured destruction. It's because India and Pakistan both are armed with nuclear weapons that Operation Sindoor came to an abrupt end without actually achieving any of the stated goals from the Indian side. Because neither India nor Pakistan can afford a nuclear confrontation. It is simply out of the question. Such a scenario is unthinkable. If there is a war between 2 nuclear states and nuclear arms are used, nuclear bombs are used, the victory of one will result in the elimination of the other, but there will be no victors. Both parties will disappear, they will evaporate from the face of the earth. So, using nuclear weapons is simply not an option. The only instance of nuclear bombs being ever used in human history is in 1945, and actually that was done in order to test the bomb, and it was dropped. Two small nuclear bombs were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. After that, the world has seen many serious regional conflicts. Now, take the second instance that we can consider in this regard, the Russia-Ukraine war. How many times in the last 3 years Putin threatened that he would use nuclear weapons? And after that, the many red lines that Putin announced have been crossed. Think of the recent daring attack by Ukraine on the Russian bombers parked 4,000 kilometers from the Ukrainian border. That would have been provocation enough for Putin to use nuclear weapons, if nuclear weapon can be used at all. The fact that, much unlike what he threatened he would do, he simply refrained from even mentioning the word nuclear in that context, but stayed put with conventional weapons. So, what available evidence proves beyond any reasonable doubt is that it's all right to have nuclear weapons, but nuclear weapons are no substitute for conventional arsenal or weapons for waging conventional war as against nuclear war. A nuclear war is simply unthinkable, and if a nuclear war happens, it's not only the two countries who are using nuclear weapons against each other who will perish. Almost the whole of humanity will perish. There is something called the nuclear winter, and the radiation, the fallout of that will reach. For example, if there is a nuclear war in the Indian subcontinent, the radiation will reach the United States of America. It will spread all over the world. So, the nations of the world will not allow the use of a nuclear weapon for the simple reason that the fallout of a nuclear war will not be limited to the two warring factions or two warring armies. It will involve the whole of humanity, or the globe as a whole, and therefore nobody can actually use a nuclear bomb. You can say that I have a nuclear bomb, or I'm a nuclear force, or I've joined the nuclear club or whatever, and maybe even stake your claim to be considered one of the superpowers. But I say it again and again, the most useless thing in the world when it comes to waging a war, any war, is a nuclear bomb or an atom bomb. It simply cannot be used. So, I cannot believe even for a moment that Benjamin Netanyahu is unaware of this. It simply cannot be unaware of this. No one really believes, no one in his senses should believe, that if Iran comes into possession of an atom bomb, it would immediately fit it on a missile and send it to Israel, particularly given the fact that Israel is already a well-established nuclear state, and therefore it is totally futile, absurd, insane even to think of using an atom bomb against Israel. That is simply out of the question. So, this great hullabaloo about Iran being very close to producing an atom bomb, etc., in my mind, is utter nonsense. I'm not saying that Iran will not produce an atom bomb. Iran may well produce an atom bomb, if not today, tomorrow. At any rate, This action resorted to by Benjamin Netanyahu has, if anything, only expedited Iran becoming a nuclear state, because with this, almost everyone in Tehran is convinced that the only way Iran can ensure its security is by producing the bomb, because, as I said at the outset, an atom bomb has tremendous deterrence value, even though its value as an actual weapon of warfare is zero. Zero. So, what Netanyahu has done is to strengthen the motive and urge of the Iranian regime to go nuclear. And therefore, his action will ensure that Iran becomes a nuclear state sooner than later. This is the case. And now look at the situation in Israel. I've been monitoring the news, especially the news that comes through three international stations: BBC, CNN, and Al Jazeera. And I feel sorry for the people of Israel. This early morning, when I produced a video saying or expressing my anxiety that Israel could well be going the way of Gaza, I got some very angry reactions. I said that out of real concern for the people of Israel. And now, having watched the television coverage of all the developments in this region, and particularly how the various cities of Israel have come under attack, I want to restate my anxiety and say that the people of Israel are in for a really, really nightmarish time. By now, it is established, it's proven by beyond any doubt, that even though the civil defense system, the aerial defense system of Israel is efficient, it is not foolproof, and it is possible for Iranians to penetrate through this Iron Dome and hit the cities of Israel as and when they wish to. So, the people of Israel, it's a small country, they will have to live in anxiety for how many days, how many weeks, God alone knows. It's not worth it. It's absolutely not worth it. Secondly, I don't believe that Israel can afford to go on fighting like this. How many battles, how many wars will a small country fight? After all, Israel doesn't have a large standing army. The lion's share of Israel's army comprises the reservists who work in other fields, but they are called to serve in the army as and when the need arises. And there is something called battle fatigue. I'm amazed that the Israeli army is able to carry on like this. But how long will it carry on? And today, when 3 Israelis died out of a single Iranian missile that landed, and about 200 Israelis have been injured, there's a sudden shock overwhelming the entire country. You see, when the people of Gaza were subjected to this kind of horrendous state, it was a television spectacle for everyone. That's the reason why this morning I said, is Israel going the way of Gaza? Well, the whole of Israel may not be destroyed to the extent that Gaza has been. But if you look at some of the visuals, you will be shocked how a single missile, supersonic missile or hypersonic missile or ballistic missile, can actually create a picture of the Holocaust, Armageddon. It's incredible, the extent of destruction that is wrought. So this is not an easy situation to be in. I feel sorry that the people of Israel have been dragged into this. It's an utterly senseless, absurd, insane step. Israel is not going to gain anything out of it. If anything, it will lose and lose humongously. And I believe that what Benjamin Netanyahu has done is an act of sheer folly. It makes no sense. There is no reason in it. And unfortunately, the people as a whole, the Israelites as a whole, will have to pay for it. Well, we have to wait and see how Donald Trump views all this, what stand he will take. I noticed a little bit of change among the European leaders. The kind of hostility they had begun to display towards Israeli leadership in the recent past is now changing, and they are sort of once again singing the old tune that Israel has the right to defend itself. But whether this is the step that Israel necessarily must take in order to ensure its security is a question that I am concerned about. I don't dispute that a country must have the right to defend itself. Every individual must have the right to defend himself or herself. That's beyond dispute. But if this actually contributes to the defense of the country, or whether this actually aggravates the insecurity and indefensibility of the country, is the question I'm raising through this video. So once again, I commiserate with the people of Israel, just as I commiserate with the people in Iran. After all, the people of Iran have been smarting under the yoke of tyranny. This religious dictatorship